What's up, guys? Jeremy Conn here. It is the Lowdown. Appreciate you guys watching. Click the like and subscribe button. That helps us out. And if you click the notification button, it'll let you know every time we post something here. College football was kind of a weird one for me yesterday. My top plays. I had an overall winning day on Pick Dawgz, but as I was mapping everything out, and I went back and looked at it, so full disclosure, when I write up my plays, I don't know if I can even show you. You guys could see it. Like, I literally write out everything that I like. And then I go in reverse and start crossing things out, saying, okay, do I like this play more than that? And usually I get down to anywhere between 7 and 10 plays if it's like a full slate. That means multiple sports. Like in the NFL today, there were 7 games I liked. Ultimately, I finished on 5. Those 5 were the Chiefs were my favorite play and my best bet. I've talked about this, like Andy Reid at home on a revenge game in a home opener, after can't afford to go 0-2. Pat Mahomes at home getting points, and how often does he lose there? And everybody's like enamored with the Eagles. They didn't look good against the Cowboys. So I'm not quite sure how good the Eagles are, if they're having a Super Bowl hangover or what. We'll see if they come out and play well and win that game. But the Chiefs were my favorite play. Right up there with it would have been the Bengals and Jags to go over. I can't believe more people weren't on this with the way Cincinnati's defense is, and watching Jacksonville's offense with Liam Cohen there now just look great. Like the Colts, sorry, I got the hiccups. And I had a couple of plays this week that I think some people would look at and go, ugh. I had the Jets against the Bills. I had the Colts against the Broncos. And I love the Titans against the Rams. Now, again, I think that's somewhat overreaction. With the Bills, I'm not talking about from my side. I'm talking about from the public jumping all over these teams. I mean, everybody's like, man, the Bills came back and won, and they scored 41 points. Yeah, they gave up 40. And, I mean, Josh Allen was amazing. A couple of fortunate plays bounced their way. A tip pass here, a fumble at the end of the game. Getting it, going for it on fourth down a couple times and getting it in the way that it went. But anyway, I'm not saying that the Bills were lucky or anything, but they are coming off an emotional win. Jets coming off an emotional loss at home, and now the Bills have to go on the road, which is why I told anyone that was willing to listen to me I was going to be all over Breece Hall and Travis Etienne as far as running backs on Sunday, and their over props, and I had both of them for an anytime touchdown. Now, with the Jets, I thought they played much better, and it's weird how you look at these games because, like, I like the Seahawks against the Steelers. The Steelers at one point were the most heavily bet team of the week. I'm not sure if that stayed that way. But ironically, when you look at it, everybody's like, oh, man, the Steelers were so good. And I'm looking at their defense going, they were shit. They had no business winning that game, and they won, and it's great. I mean, you get a fumble for a kickoff, but it's amazing what that W does to your mind on how the team played, because I talked to somebody, and they were like, man, Seattle sucks. I was like, did you watch their defense? Their defense was amazing. And I think they come in and give the Steelers fits. On the flip side, if you listen to me before the year, I talked about the Colts. I thought they were one of those teams. The Colts, Panthers, was there another one in there? I think it was just those two. The Colts and Panthers were the teams that I was a little bit more bullish on. Panthers more in line of taking that next step forward, not saying they were going to make the playoffs. Colts, it was making the playoffs. And I even listed Daniel Jones as a comeback player of the year possibility, which I got laughed at until after week 1. I mean, you might laugh at me after a few more weeks because it's still Daniel Jones, but I think he's in a much better spot, much better position than he was in with the Giants. Now, the other play talking about, too, was the Titans. And, like, if you watch the Rams had no business winning that game against the Texans. Texans played like trash and still should have won that game. The only bright spot, really, that I saw from the Rams was Puka Nakua's 10 for 130. And now they get to go to Tennessee after playing like trash at home for Tennessee's home opener. And I do think, look, guys, when it comes to a home opener, it's the first game of the year. And I had an old co-host, and I'll use the baseball terms, would always say, you want to play the Kansas City Royals in August and September when they know they're the freaking Kansas City Royals. In April, everybody has visions of grandeur. And the same thing can be said about the NFL with these teams that come out. And then you look at their home openers, and when they get those opportunities, fans come in. Everybody's amped up, feel like you still have a chance until, you get a few weeks into the season. You're like, yeah, we suck. We're not going anywhere. Some teams know it ahead of time, but it's still that, what do you want to say it? That fire as a fan, do you get in there? You get all amped up and ready to go. And I feel like it'll be a packed stadium. It'll be loud. And I like those spots. I think home openers are huge in sports, and we have a bunch of them this week, and we'll have a couple next week. So where do we want to go? I want to tell you guys, make sure you're checking out. If you're more of a high roller, you like to bet a little bit bigger, we have a rated system over with the concrete inner circle. All you have to do is text that number, and you text inner circle to that number, and then, of course, you can find out more, see if it's right for you. I don't want to waste anyone's time because it's not cheap, but if you're interested in it, come find out, see what's going on over there. I think today is Sunday, as I'm looking at it, I think it was going to be a really good day. So we'll see when I do this podcast tomorrow if I'm angry or happy. But put a lot of work in this week, and I feel like we're in a lot of really, really good spots. Now, getting to the games, I got 2 baseball games and 2 football games for you. Something to kind of look at here just a bit and go over. One of the things I do want to say is that I was trying to I wanted to do the Phillies-Dodgers game since it was probably the biggest game of the day. But the fact remains that, like, I don't know what you want to do with that game because they don't have any pitchers listed. And I looked everywhere to see. I was trying to check the rotation. Like, I really think anything could happen in this spot from a standpoint of, who's going to pitch, how it's going to look. So it didn't even make sense for me to go over it, but I do try to go over the biggest games of the day. Now, I did want to pull something up here as far as because on these Monday night plays, I didn't write down. I have a prop play that I want to talk about later. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to write it down. All right, so let's get into this. Let's talk baseball. We start off with the Reds at the Cardinals, 85 degrees. The wind is blowing in. It is Zach Liddell versus Matthew Liberatore. In a lot of situations, I would tell you, God, I can't believe my eyes. It's got something going on here. In a lot of situations, I would tell you this would be a game to attack with the pitchers, considering Liddell was one of those guys that at one point this year, for a long period of time, he had given up the most home runs in baseball. Right now, I think somebody else passed him. I'm trying to remember who that was, but he is in the top 3 of home runs given up. And Matthew Liberatore, nothing special, some ground balls here or there. Get a few Ks every once in a while. His K prop's usually fairly low, but it does make you wonder, have these teams, are the Reds still playing? Do they feel like they have a shot here? The Cardinals are done. I like the under here, 85 degrees, wind blowing in at about 6 miles an hour. I think the Cardinals' offense has had some trouble scoring this year, and if you look at Liddell's numbers, they're not bad. He just gives up home runs. So I'm going to tell you to take the under there. The other baseball game I was going to talk about is the Blue Jays at the Rays. Wind is out to right at about 6 to 7 miles an hour. It's 82 degrees there. Jose Barrios versus Ryan Pepio. Barrios, Pepio, they sound like fun names to say. Now, Barrios has been one of those guys that in his last start where I thought he was going to get shelled, he didn't. I still hit the Alvarez prop, which I told you was my favorite that day that he pitched. But if you look at his month of September, outside of his last game, he has looked awful. And not even just the month of September. You got to go back to August. Going into that game, he had given up 18 runs in 23 innings. So I think the Rays can get after it. We'll have to look at this and see the matchup in specific. I've said this before. The Blue Jays strike out the least amount of any team in baseball, and I think they're going to be able to hit Pepio. This Bandbox Stadium, wind blowing out, it's 80-some degrees. Yeah, give me the over here. I think both guys get touched up, and we see some runs scored in this game. Now it's time to talk about some football. We got the Chargers at the Raiders. It is Chargers -3. I did see, let me make sure there's no 3.5s out there. Because I saw on a few sites there were some 3.5s, but I don't know if that was legitimate or not. As far as, come on, of course my phone would take this long. I'm still seeing a lot of 3s out there. So as it goes, I think this is an opportunity here with the Chargers and Raiders, and this is the later game on Monday. This is almost like back-to-back road games. I mean, technically it is, even though the game in Brazil was a Chargers home game, and now they're traveling. Not that they had to go too far to go to Vegas, but I do think the Raiders are a live dog. One of the things to look at in this spot, Brock Bowers, if he plays, obviously you're going to like them a little bit more because he's such a great target. I mean, he might be the best tight end in football right now. That being said, he's questionable. They said he could have come back in the game last week. He had a limited practice. What was that, Friday, I think? I got him on my fantasy team, so I've been monitoring this all week. Yeah, my 2 tight ends are Isaiah Likely hurt and Brock Bowers hurt, so now I'm streaming either one of the tight ends from the Bengals or somebody else. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But with this game, I mean, you're talking about a rivalry game within the division. I do think the Chargers are the better team. But, I want to take the Raiders plus the points knowing the spot, but I think the better play is the under. I could see both of these offenses struggling, especially if Bowers doesn't play. I really like this Chargers defense. I think the Chiefs are better than what they made them look. But I think the Chargers defense has a chance to be special this year. Total of 46.5. Give me the under. That's where I'm going to lean for that one. Now, this is one where I'm going to have a premium play on the game, so I'm giving out a prop play. If you guys listen to what I'm saying, you might even be able to figure out who my premium play is. But Tampa Bay goes to Houston. It's Houston's home opener. Houston's favored by 2.5, so we get them under a field goal. 42.5 is the total. I thought Houston's defense played out of their mind last Sunday and deserved better than what they got. But these are the breaks. They get to go home. Nico Collins did not perform as well as I think a lot of us would have hoped in that game. But the Rams could look at it and go, they don't have a number 2 receiver. Who the hell are they going to after, Tank Dell's hurt and Christian Kirk was out? I think they get better as the season goes along, but Nico Collins is where I want to look. His numbers are 76.5 as far as receiving yards. I like him to go over that prop. I like him for an anytime TD, which is short plus money. It's just a really good spot for him. If I watch Drake London get as many targets as he did against against the Bucs last week in Atlanta, and here we are with the Bucs on back-to-back road games going to Houston. So now they've got to go. I think people are expecting them to go win in 2 opponent stadiums in their home openers, and one of which was a playoff team last year. And Atlanta was hoping to get there and take that step forward. Atlanta blew that game to me. But I think Tampa Bay, this could be an interesting spot for Houston here. Give me Nico Collins over the 76.5 yards and the anytime TD. I'd like to tell you I think the under is interesting, but this Bucs offense, if they get down early, they can dink and dunk and chunk their way down. I said this the other day. Baker Mayfield is finally the guy that the Browns thought he was when they drafted him number 1 overall. I mean, he's a top 8, top 6 quarterback in this league, depending on where you want to put him, because I think we all know who the top 5 are, who sits there, and maybe we have a debate on who belongs and who doesn't. For me, the top 3 is not even debatable. It's Mahomes, Lamar, and Allen, and you put them in whatever order you want. But as we start to look at some of these other guys, Burrow's in there. Look, there's a lot of talented players in this league, but when it comes down to it, I think Baker's just looked fantastic. I just think this is a terrible spot for him. So my free play is Nico Collins over receiving yards. All right, guys, be back tomorrow with another podcast. We'll see if I'm happy, if I'm sad, depending on how NFL goes. But I really, really like this week. So hopefully things are going in my favor. Hope you guys win some cash. I'll see you tomorrow.